Hello, and welcome back to Pathfinder. My name is Philip, and I'm here to talk about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This is part of a series I am producing covering the various deities in the Pathfinder role-playing game and its setting, the world of Golarion. Last time, I covered Urgathoa, the goddess of gluttony, undeath, and disease. This time, I'm moving on to someone with a bit more self-control, Irori, the god of knowledge, history, and self-perfection. Irori is often called the Master of Masters, and he was originally worshipped in Vudra, where he is also called the Perfected Human. His worship spread quickly to Tian Sha, where he is also called Iro Shu, or the Enlightened One. The faith of Irori first appeared in the Inner Sea region, on the island of Jalmare, in the Impossible Lands. It has since spread widely throughout the region. Outside of his dedicated clergy, he is primarily worshipped by martial artists, ascetics, mystics, and those who seek to better themselves. Irori is one of the gods who was originally a mortal man, at least according to legend and his own teachings. As such, he is generally depicted as a human of Vudran descent, though in different regions he might be depicted as the dominant local human ethnicity. He is always shown to be bald, except for an unshaven section of hair on the back of his head, which is tied into a long braid. He wears loose robes and wooden sandals, and he carries no weapons. His dedicated clergy rarely depict him in visual art, however, as they believe that no mortal art form might properly capture the perfection of his physical form. Instead, followers use poetry or prose to describe him. Irori makes his home on the plane of Axis, in an area known as the Serene Circle. It is generally thought to be a large garden filled with walking paths and large boulders seemingly scattered at random. It is dotted with relatively few buildings, though those which are there appear as temples, palaces, and monasteries for the enlightened. His most devout followers and divine servitors all live here, meditating or practicing martial arts, and many will seek out a method of reincarnation, so they might draw closer to perfection. Devout followers of Irori, called Irorans, are tasked with pursuing self-perfection in the form of the triune self. The triune self consists of a person's three aspects: the body, perfected through diet and exercise, the mind, perfected through study, and the spirit, perfected through meditation. The perfection of all three aspects is tremendously difficult, and most followers fail in one life. The Church teaches that followers who do not attain enlightenment will be reincarnated into a new body to begin their journey again. Followers are expected to practice self-control and self-discipline, but are also instructed to treat subordinates with patience and understanding. The Church teaches that the path to enlightenment is different for everyone, so different sects and temples approach the pursuit of perfection differently. One excellent example of this difference in approach is the minority of temples which believe that intoxication is not an imperfection or a sign of weakness, but is in fact a way to unlock mental clarity, and thus move closer to enlightenment. These followers often imbibe intoxicants, generally alcohol, and both meditate and practice martial arts in their slightly inebriated state. These followers of Irori might also worship Caden Kalian, despite the friction between the two deities. Temples to Irori are generally large sprawling complexes containing spaces dedicated to meditation and prayer, exercise and martial arts, and for study and contemplation. Temples are generally closed to the public, and visitors are usually asked to wait outside and not disturb the meditations of the faithful. Occasionally, visitors are permitted onto the premises, often scholars who have petitioned for access to the Church's records. The Church considers the preservation and dissemination of knowledge to be a sacred duty, so scholars who prove themselves sufficiently studious and worthy are often granted an invitation to study, even if they do not worship the Master of Masters. While the temple schools are often closed to the public, some individual followers of the Master of Masters have seen fit to establish secular training schools, or to find employment as instructors for secular organizations. Irori's holy text is Unbinding the Fetters, a text containing spiritual, physical, and mental exercises intended to strengthen a follower's three aspects. It is a complex text and generally speaks in metaphors and riddles. Beyond this text, followers generally consider all knowledge sacred to one degree or another. Irori is a deity from Vudra, and he is considered to be the most important and powerful of the gods in the Vudran pantheon. His faith has spread far in Tian Sha and in the Inner Sea region, and he is considered a major deity despite his foreign origin. The martial arts schools on the island of Jalmare contain a high concentration of worshippers, as do temple schools in Osirian, Kadira, and Absalom. Many in Avestan look upon the followers of Irori as odd, their self-discipline seen as strange and foreign. That said, he has followers scattered across the region, and the religion is generally on the rise. Many dwarves respect Irori and worship him alongside Torag and the rest of the dwarven pantheon. Additionally, the Hell Knight Order of the Godclaw considers Irori one of its 5 patron deities. The history of Irori is relatively unknown. He is known to have been a man of Vudran descent and to have had at least one sibling, who would go on to have a child named Gruhashta. Irori is thought to have spent at least some time living as an ascetic, eschewing mortal possessions and comforts in his search for enlightenment. He is thought to have trained in various forms of martial arts, though where he trained and what he learned is unknown. He is also thought to have been a learned scholar, though, again, where and what he studied is a mystery. I suspect that we will learn a lot more about him in a future Lost Omens book, focusing on the impossible kingdoms of Vudra. The Master of Masters is generally content to leave other gods to their business without interference, for what is right for him might not be right for them. He is particularly close to Abadar and Shizuru, as the two of them recognize the importance of Irori's beliefs in a just and stable society. He also has a good relationship with Chaldira, the halfling goddess of luck and mischief, though she considers their relationship more friendly than he does. Irori has a mild rivalry with the 3 Starstone Ascendant deities, Iomide, Cadencalion, and Norgorber. These 3 deities achieved their divinity by passing the test of the Starstone, and Irori considers this to be a shortcut to ascendancy. With Iomide, the rivalry between them is generally friendly, as the two faiths value martial and spiritual strength developed through training. The rivalry with him and Cadencalion, meanwhile, is less friendly, since the Lucky Drunk considers Irori to be stuffy and uptight, but they never devolve into enmity. With Norgorber, however, the relationship is nothing short of antagonistic. Norgorber's domain over secrets, and his dictates to hide knowledge, directly contrast with Irori's instructions to his own followers. Irori also has an ongoing feud with Asmodeus. Irori believes in achieving perfection through hard work and dedication, and encourages the same beliefs in his followers. Asmodeus, however, often tempts mortals with shortcuts to power and achievement, and these shortcuts are always fraught with peril. The Master of Masters is closest to the deity Gruhashta, a Vudran god of enlightenment and knowledge. Gruhashta was also a mortal man from Vudra before his ascension to divinity. In fact, he was Irori's nephew. He followed his uncle's teachings and eventually attained divinity on his own by penning a book filled with perfect knowledge and wisdom. He now serves as the chief advisor to Irori in Axis. For players who might be interested in characters who follow Irori, here are a few useful details. For those using the alignment rules, Irori is a lawful neutral deity, and will accept clerics of any lawful alignment. His edicts are to be humble, to help others perfect themselves, to hone your body, mind, and spirit to a more perfect state, and to practice discipline. Conversely, to become addicted to a substance, to destroy an important historical text, or to repeatedly fail to maintain self-control are anathema to Irori. His holy symbol is an open palm overlaid into a blue circle. In some parts of the world, his name rebus serves as an alternative holy symbol. A name rebus is a name written as a single symbol, and Irori's is one of the very few which is perfectly symmetrical. His domains are knowledge, might, perfection, and truth. Change and vigil are his alternate domains. Irori's sacred colors are blue and white. Followers are known to dress plainly, often in loose-fitting robes or body wraps. Followers rarely, if ever, show off their appearance with ostentatious displays of fashion or wealth. Many followers consider material wealth to be a hindrance to achieving enlightenment, so seek to limit the number and value of their possessions as a result. The main decoration which followers generally allow themselves to wear is a long braid of hair worn as a necklace. This hair might be from the wearer themselves, or might be from a master who passed the token on to a student. Irori's favored weapon is the open hand, or the unarmed strike. Physical fitness is a core tenet of the faith, and this is most often understood to include martial skill alongside general fitness. Followers practice various forms of martial arts, including dozens of styles of unarmed combat. In addition to unarmed strikes, traditional monastic weapons like the bowstaff, the bow, the shuriken, and the temple sword are very common among the faithful. What is more important than a follower's choice of weapon, however, is their dedication to training. Mastery of oneself and mastery of the weapon as an extension of oneself are critical to perfecting the body and achieving enlightenment. Irori's favored animal is, oddly enough, the snail. Yes, the snail. I have no idea why. He also values the mantis and the octopus, which make a little more sense, I guess. White tigers are also sacred to him. Okay, that one actually makes sense. And many of his celestial servants take the form of giant celestial white tigers. Irori's formal clergy is made up of a nearly even mix of clerics and monks, though a significant minority of druids exist as well. Clerics often practice martial arts alongside their spellcasting, and rarely wear armor, though doing so would not go against Irori's teachings. Druids often believe that mortals have lost an important connection with nature, and that emulating the forms and combat styles of beasts will restore this connection and advance them on the path to enlightenment. A small number of champions of Irori exist, though they are rare, and often worship him alongside Iomade, or as a member of the Godclaw pantheon. While this hasn't been confirmed in the lore because the class is relatively new, it would make sense for a significant number of psychics, especially those whose power comes from their intellect, to follow Irori, since mental perfection is a pillar of the faith. Other classes which depend on intellectual and physical skill, such as the Magus, might also make for natural followers of the Master of Masters, especially if they rely on unarmed strikes or monastic weapons in combat. Other archetypes which might be good for followers of the Master of Masters include the staff acrobat, the martial artist, the student of perfection, the weapon improviser, and the bullet dancer. For additional class options, check out Faith's Reward Irori on Pathfinder Infinite, or take a look at the 1000 Touch Arcana option in Magus Plus. Because Irori was once a human, humans make up the vast majority of his followers, especially in the Inner Sea. Within the Inner Sea region, human worshippers of Irori are most commonly found on the Isle of Jalmare, but also in Katapesh, Kadira, Osirian, and Absalom. Migrants, or visitors from Tian Sha, including Tengus and Kitsune, might also be members of his faith. Outside of humans, the most common worshippers include dwarves, who have adopted the Master of Masters into their pantheon. Additionally, the ancestries explored in Lost Omen's The Impossible Lands would have had substantial exposure to the faith of Irori. These include Vishkanya, Kashrishi, Vanara, Goran, and Nagaji. Please note, however, that these ancestries are less common outside of the Impossible Lands. Devout followers of Irori will lead lives of discipline and self-control. The pursuit of perfection and eventual enlightenment is their primary motivation, though the path to enlightenment might be different for each follower. Shortcuts to power are to be avoided, and hard work is its own reward. Those characters who want to push themselves to be better, to unlock their greatest potential, will make for excellent Irorans. Those characters who wish to balance scholarship with martial skill will find the Church of Irori a good fit. Characters in a society where weapons are restricted might flock to the Church for its emphasis on unarmed combat, then fall into the other beliefs over time. More chaotic characters will struggle with the strict beliefs of the faith, but characters who value internal order will find a home in their belief. If you're looking for some character inspiration, or to homebrew some content for a follower of Irori, take a look at his first edition page on Archives of Nethys. His divine fighting technique might serve to inspire some class feats for a new archetype, while the Champion of Irori prestige class, or the Iroran Paladin archetype, might inspire some character builds. The Robe of the Master of Masters and the Incense of Meditation might be fun items to port over to 2nd edition, once they're balanced a little bit. For GMs looking to integrate Irori and his followers into a campaign, here are some ideas. Irori's current herald is the Old Man, a powerful being in the nondescript guise of an elderly traveler. His divine servitors are the Pavbagas, and take the appearance of large white tigers. Outside of these servants, Irori might communicate his disfavor by sending sudden and unexpected muscle cramps. He also might allow sickness or insanity to plague those who have angered him. The Church of Irori considers the collection and preservation of knowledge of all kinds to be a sacred duty. Priests often spend their time writing down stories which are generally passed on via oral tradition, preserving this knowledge and wisdom. They care little for the nature of the knowledge they collect. Whether it is dangerous information or comes from an evil source is irrelevant. Knowledge is worth preserving, regardless of its origin or culture. This means that any temple or shrine might hold written records on whatever topic a GM wants. Larger temples might serve as targets for those hunting secrets or lost knowledge, Norgorberites, cultists, archaeologists, or followers of Nethys. Even a small shrine might be used as a storage place for valuable information. If the PCs or villains are looking for a lost text or map, perhaps it was given to a wandering Iroran monk who placed it at an out-of-the-way shrine along his path for fear that it might be lost. Followers of Irori will sometimes hold martial arts tournaments, both within temples and between various temples and schools. These generally serve to test the strength of members of the faith, but also allow for community between otherwise isolated schools. This might be a good setting for an adventure or part of a campaign. Some evil-aligned temples to Irori decide upon leadership by right of lethal combat. Such a school might arrive at a tournament and encourage its students to kill their opponents. They might even intend to use force to bring the other schools or temples into submission. The PCs might be monks and followers who need to fight their way through the tournament, in and out of the ring, to prevent the evil school from achieving victory. A classic anime tournament arc situation, if ever there was one. Shout out to my fellow Yu Yu Hakusho fans. For a longer campaign, a GM might draw inspiration from Journey to the West. The PCs might be junior monks tasked with guiding an aging master from his home on Jalmaray to Thuvia, where he can partake of the Sun Orchid Elixir to extend his life and allow him to teach another generation. Why are junior monks assigned to this task? Because the master chose them specifically, of course, and you don't question the master. The journey is fraught with peril. Pirates, a shipwreck on the island of Bopan, navigating the magical land of Nex, rogue genies taking the PCs to the elemental planes, troublesome followers of Urgathoa or Nethys in Osirian, and more than one ancient demon in a mountain. When the party finally gets to Thuvia, does the master gain access to the elixir? If he does, will he even use it? Or did he choose the PCs because throughout the journey they have gained the wisdom to become his replacements? So that's it. That's Irori, the Master of Masters, the Enlightened One. He was a mortal man who ascended to divinity through hard work and mastery of the self. Next time, I'll be covering another mortal who ascended to godhood, though the level of mastery which Nethys, god of magic, has over himself is questionable at the best of times. If you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my rules supplement Expanded Ancestries on Pathfinder Infinite. It adds over 200 new ancestry feats to the game, spread among each of the ancestries not covered by the Pathfinder 2e remaster. And be sure to like and subscribe to see more videos like this.